When the dust settled at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, most assumed Max Verstappen had merely suffered a frustrating end to a difficult race. But now, the F1 world is erupting not over lap times or tyre degradation, but over a fiery, dangerous moment between Verstappen and George Russell that many are calling one of the most deliberate acts of aggression we've seen in years. What began as a routine battle for position in the final laps of the Spanish Grand Prix has transformed into a global debate over driver ethics, sporting justice, and whether the reigning king of F1 has finally gone too far. New onboard footage, slow-motion replays, and fresh analysis have revealed what many feared. Max Verstappen may have intentionally steered into Russell's Mercedes moments after being told by his own race engineer to surrender the position. And now, with fierce condemnation from former champions, analysts, and even FIA officials, Verstappen's reputation and his eligibility to race in Montreal hang in the balance. This is more than a racing incident. This is a potential scandal that could redefine the 2025 season. If you're a fan of Formula One or just fascinated by the high-stakes drama that only this sport can deliver, make sure you hit that subscribe button. This video breaks down the controversy in full, and trust me, you won't want to miss what happens. Music next. Lap 63, Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. The heat of the Spanish Grand Prix is at its peak. Tyres worn, nerves frayed, tensions high. And just as George Russell attempts to sweep past Max Verstappen for fourth position, the entire race, perhaps even the season, changes course. Verstappen, under instruction from his own team to yield the position, complies momentarily. But what follows has the potential to redefine the boundaries of sportsmanship in modern Formula One. Let's dissect what happened and, more importantly, what it could mean. The incident in question wasn't just dramatic, it was unnervingly deliberate. Verstappen had run wide earlier in the lap, taken to the runoff area to maintain position ahead of Russell. The stewards had seen enough. RedBull, understanding the situation, told Max to give the place back. That should have been the end of it. But when Verstappen slowed and Russell went to reclaim fourth, Verstappen fled it again and turned directly into the path of the Mercedes. The resulting collision was jarring. Not catastrophic, but unmistakably aggressive. The newly released onboard footage is a bombshell. It shows that Verstappen had acres of space on the inside line, yet moved sharply toward the outside just as Russell committed to the corner. It wasn't a desperate lunge, it wasn't a late braking error. It was a driver fully in control choosing confrontation. And this is where the storm begins. Nico Rosberg, watching live for Sky Sports, didn't mince words. He said Verstappen's move looked like intentional retaliation and called for a black flag, the ultimate punishment short of a race ban. Former FIA steward Johnny Herbert echoed that sentiment, saying it was clear as day that the move was on purpose. Herbert, a man who has seen countless borderline incidents in his time as a regulator, believes Verstappen crossed a line that cannot be ignored. Even Anthony Davidson, a usually measured analytical commentator, was stunned. Why does Max suddenly decide, "I'm not going to let him through" after appearing to back off? Davidson asked on air. He had control of the car. It was no accident. For someone of Davidson's temperament to suggest intent speaks volumes, and here's the bigger issue. Verstappen's response didn't help his case. When asked after the race if the move was intentional, he casually dismissed the question. "Does it matter?" he replied. When Sky Sports pushed further, he simply said, "Well, that's your opinion. We'll leave it there." No remorse, no denial, just a cool, almost flippant attitude to what could have been a race-ending collision. Only the following day, after a media firestorm, did Verstappen issue a vaguely conciliatory statement. It was a move that was not right and shouldn't have happened. But even that post, buried in social media and written with the kind of corporate distance we've come to expect from modern athletes, fell short of an apology. There was no direct mention of Russell, no accountability for putting another driver at risk. It felt more like damage control than genuine reflection. The timing couldn't be worse for Verstappen. He's now accrued 3 more penalty
that would allow him
points
to
on his
compete in the
super
biggest
license,
Nordschleifer events.
bringing him to 11. That's just one short of the 12-point threshold that triggers an automatic race ban. A single incident in Montreal, even something as minor as a track limits infraction needing another driver, could take him out of the next race. That would be catastrophic.
Ended up buying a MotoGP team too, so his proper racing passion has always been
Drivers' Championship by 49 points. Piastri and Lando Norris have turned McLaren into the dominant force of the season. Red Bull, despite improvements, still lacks consistency. Verstappen simply can't afford to lose a race weekend.
Formula 1 world champion Max Verstappen spent his weekend off having to prove he...
There's also a psychological angle to consider. Verstappen has always raced on the edge.
Of course we did that, and crossed the line with a second place in class, which is great to want to champion.
Now under scrutiny. The Spanish GP wasn't his first run-in with Russell either. Remember 2024, the infamous bully comments? Russell claimed Verstappen threatened to put my head into the wall after a practice incident in Baku. The two drivers have history, and this latest clash feels like a continuation of unresolved tensions boiling over. Russell, to his credit, has avoided inflaming the situation further. When asked post-race for his view, he simply said, "I just got crashed into." Later, speaking to F1
lessons,
broadcasters,
drive behind a
he added,
specialised instructor,
"I've
and
seen
race in
these
a
kinds
Porsche
of
GT.
moments in videos. His sarcasm stings,
Racing
but
exploits
it
are
also
well
underlines
documented.
the growing
He'll often
concern
race
that
GT cars
Verstappen's
virtually
aggressive
outside
tactics
of and
are turning
during
into
real-world
something more
Formula 1
reckless.
events, including races
It's
on
worth
the Nord.
asking, why would Verstappen take this risk? One theory is that he was still seething from earlier in the race, particularly
the next race will be the Spa 24 hour. I think the one we are all looking most forward to. I think always dreamed of doing, and I'm super excited to do it with Verstappen come race.
The safety car restart. Perhaps the move at turn 5 was an act of retaliation, a message. If so, it was a dangerous one. Others believe Verstappen is simply cracking under pressure. This season, he's no longer the lone wolf at the top. The McLarens are fast, Ferrari is lurking, and Red Bull's once infallible strategy calls have started to fray. In a title fight where every point counts, frustration can lead even the best to make questionable decisions. There's also an intriguing subplot involving Red Bull. After the incident in Saudi Arabia, where Verstappen overtook Oscar Piastri off track and was penalised, the team seems more conservative in their guidance. They instructed Max to give up the position to Russell, presumably to avoid another steward inquiry, but this time it backfired. Max felt aggrieved, acted out, and ended up with more penalty points. It raises the question, is there a disconnect between Verstappen and his team's race management? And if so, how dangerous is that for Red Bull's title ambitions? Let's be clear, Max Verstappen remains one of the greatest talents Formula 1 has ever seen. His raw speed, car control, and racing IQ are virtually unmatched. But as Johnny Herbert aptly put it, he doesn't need to race like this. When Max drives clean, he's nearly unbeatable. When he races angry, he turns into his own worst enemy. The FIA has a chance to act. They've reviewed the footage.
Fans come to mind.
They've seen the growing backlash.
It's great to be at a venue like Monza, such a historic area.
If Montreal sees another infraction, the decision may be taken out. What do you think? Was Verstappen a momentary lapse in judgment or a calculated act of retaliation? And if the FIA does hand down a harsher penalty in the coming days, will it be too little, too late? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.